this?
We're live.
Okay. Hello.
What's up,
Good morning.
Yeah, I like the audience interaction.
What's up, dog?
Awesome.
I like that.
So super privileged today for Mrs. Naughton to be here and open up her prenatal journey with you. We've learned about trimester 1, 2, and 3. We've learned about premature birth, and now here it is in real life.
Here I
she
am,
is. So,
real life.
We talked about if there's a question you ask and she says pass or no thank you, we respect our privacy because you will probably know a little more about her now than maybe you had in English class or on the dance team.
Or ever.
Or ever. So we respect your privacy and we're super grateful to have this real world experience. You can ask other questions, of course, but these are kind of to help guide our conversation. So they kind of go in order, so they start here and then go here. But they're divided up. So
Okay.
without further ado, take it over. Who's doing number 1?
Who's doing number 1?
So, how did you and your husband decide you guys wanted to become parents?
I think, so my husband and I dated for 6 years before we even got married. So we both are very family-oriented people, so we always both knew that we wanted kids. He was much more ready for kids at an earlier stage than I was. His mom is one of 14 and his dad is one of 9. So his family is ginormous and he loves that. I come from a very small family. So it was very different. So it took me a little bit to get where he was. But I've always known I wanted kids.
Describe your parental journey this far.
Okay. Starting from like the beginning, like,
Yeah.
okay. So
Off the blue. Sorry. That's
oh
weird.
no, that's okay. So I found out that I was pregnant in March 4th. I don't know why, like I will never forget that date. And since then, it has been not the easiest process for me. I was extremely sick for the first 18 weeks. And when I say sick, I don't just mean like a little nauseous, like I was vomiting for that many weeks straight. So it was not easy, and typically you don't tell people that you are pregnant until you reach that 3rd month, so that after the first trimester. So not being able to be myself and being really sick and being really tired was hard. I had to end up telling some people a little bit early, like my bosses, because I was getting sick in the middle of class. I was getting sick in the middle of a school day. They call it morning sickness, but it is definitely not just morning sickness. It is all the time sickness for some people. So that's kind of how it started. After the like 18, 19 week mark, I started feeling better. But then I started having high blood pressure the rest of my pregnancy. So another thing to kind of watch. And high blood pressure during pregnancy is typically common if it doesn't get super high, but it is something that they have to watch. So my specific like health prenatal journey has been a little bit more difficult than some people. But people have also had it way worse than I have, so I'm lucky. But does that kind of answer your question? Okay. Yes, Shannon.
What information do you already know? What do you wish you knew?
Like, what did I already know going into it?
Yeah, and what do you wish you knew?
Honestly, I didn't know a lot. Like, at all. I wish I knew more going into it. I knew none of my friends, like my close circle of friends, I'm the first one to get married. I'm the first one to have a baby, so I don't have a lot of experience that way. I'm not an aunt yet because my siblings are younger. So I didn't know a lot. I knew mentally and financially that we were ready and we were in a good spot to bring in children. But like physically and emotionally, I was not ready for all of the changes. Something as simple as just being like really sick. Something as simple as like not being able to smell. I couldn't smell different types of like any meat. I couldn't smell. I couldn't smell barbecue sauce. There's a lot of different things that happen with your hormones that seem like very, very wacky and crazy. And the only thing I could stomach eating when I was throwing up was Starburst. and I don't even really like Starburst, so I have no idea like where that came from. But just like different things like that I kind of learned along the way. I've read a ton of books. I'm an English teacher, but I've read a ton of baby books. My husband is also an English teacher, so he wouldn't admit it, but he's also read some baby books. So for me, it was a lot of learning as I go. But I wish I would have known more before. Anyone else?
What did you already expect from the hospital, and what are you most nervous about?
So I'll start off by saying I am a very high anxious person when it comes to anything medically related. Going to the dentist, like I am almost 30 years old and I still like get tears in my eyes, like just for a cleaning. Like I do not like any medical procedures. So I've had a lot of experience with hospitals. I've actually been in the hospital twice for this pregnancy, one for dehydration and then one for high blood pressure. So I've had to kind of get over my fears in that way. But as far as what I'm most nervous about is kind of the unknown, right? You think you can prepare for birth, but you really can't. There are so many different unknowns and variables that can happen, whether or not you have a natural birth or a C-section, or if you just something as my due date is November 11th, that doesn't really mean anything. I could go late, I could go early. So it's just kind of all of the unknown that is a little scary. Next question.
What sorts of feelings / emotions did you have when you were carrying your baby?
So like the stereotype is that like pregnant women are crazy and they cry all the time, and while that can be true, for me, I haven't had like the mood swings that a lot of people talk about. I've had more of like the physical and like medical things, which has maybe kind of blocked some of my emotional. I typically am a person who like can watch a movie and not cry, can like read a book and not cry. Like it sounds bad, but I just like don't. I don't know. I can separate myself from reality. And now anytime I see a commercial with a baby, I just like start crying. Even if it's like not a cute commercial. So I've been a little bit more emotional, but like in terms of huge mood swings and stuff, I haven't really experienced that. My husband might say different, but I don't think I have.
How did being pregnant alter your diet?
So I am a huge like sweets person. Like my favorite food is cake. I love cookies. I love donuts. I love all of those things. And I learned that the whole like, oh, you're eating for two, it's fine. Like that's actually not fine. You gain a ton of weight really fast. And so I had to kind of slow down and start thinking about my diet, which I should have already been doing, but I just didn't. Because when you're just thinking about yourself, sometimes you let those things go. But immediately when I found out that I was pregnant, I became a healthier person. Because I felt like I was doing it for my baby and not just for me. This sounds crazy, but I even feel like I'm a safer driver. Like it just, something in me is telling me like it's not just about me anymore. Like I'm in charge of this other human, even though they're not even born yet. And so I've always been active, so I stayed active throughout my entire pregnancy. I was just told now that I can't, and I'm almost 8 months, so I was told that I can't jog anymore. But I still go on walks. I still try and like eat a balanced diet. And again, not just for me, but for my baby as well.
Do you have any pregnancy cravings?
You know, like this is so boring, but like I don't. And that's another thing. Everyone's like, what are you craving? Like, I more so am like, I do not want to eat meat. Like, I have more food aversions than cravings. The only thing is, like, if I see a commercial, like, the other night, it was, like, midnight, and I saw a commercial for a chocolate shake, and, like, I had to have my husband go get me one. Like, I just needed it, like, in that moment. So it's like, if I need something, it's more like I see it and I want it. But I haven't had, like, a particular craving for anything.
Did you have any complications while you were carrying your baby?
So the first one, the morning sickness, that happened right away. The high blood pressure. I've also had a few like dizzy spells, which is normal. I didn't know that. So of course your mind goes to like the worst thing possible that could be happening. I'm trying to think of any. So morning sickness, high blood pressure, dizzy, the dehydration when I was admitted to the hospital for dehydration, because I was getting sick so often, like I couldn't even keep down water. That's it. Yeah.
Did you exercise while you were pregnant? And if so, what did you do?
Yeah. So my exercise routine didn't really change for the first, I was sick, so I wasn't doing it as often, but my exercise routine really didn't change until like week 20. That's when I kind of had to slow down. I had to lift like lighter weights. I had to not run as far. But I've tried staying active throughout the entire time. A lot of the books that I read said, the healthier you are, the more active you are, the better that is for the baby, and also to prepare your body for labor when you give birth. So those are a few things that I've done. Swimming is also awesome. It feels really good on all of your hips and your ligaments and everything when you're pregnant. So.
Did your doctor recommend that you take any extra supplements or vitamins?
Yeah, so I had to make sure, first of all, I was up to date on all of my vaccinations. So I had to get a flu shot. I had to get the Tdap shot. My blood type is negative. So I had to get an RH positive factor shot. Just different types of things that make sure that your body is going to work with the baby. And then my doctor recommended that I take prenatal vitamins. So on top of my like normal vitamins that I take a pill that is really, really big. And it has a bunch of different sources of vitamins and iron and DHA and a bunch of different supplements that are good for the baby.
What types of activities did you have a hard time doing that weren't a problem before you were pregnant?
Like putting my socks on is like a huge challenge right now, which seems ridiculous. But like I usually ask my husband to put my socks on for me. Putting my pants on, like stepping in like one leg at a time is not ideal. I usually have to like lay around and like roll on my bed. Just this past week, I have no ab muscles anymore. So when I'm laying flat, like I can't just like sit up. Like I have to like roll over and like get up. You just like feel huge. Like you just, even if people are like, oh my gosh, you don't look big, like you just feel massive. And it doesn't bend. So like someone was telling me like, you're not even that big. Well, if it was just all like fat, like fat bends, you can do, like this doesn't bend. So even like picking something up in class is like a huge struggle. It's like getting to the point where it's embarrassing because it takes forever. I'm trying to think of like other activities. Eating, like for whatever reason, like I always end up with like food on my belly. Like I don't know why it like drops and then it's just on my belly. Like just weird things, or I forget that I'm big, so I try and like fit through small places and then it's like awkward because I like can't. Just things that you don't really think about. Little things like that. Yeah.
What would be your advice to any new expecting moms about your baby?
I would say to try and be as educated as you possibly can, whether that's talking to people who have been through it, reading books. I would also say something is to try your best to not think about the worst possible outcomes and situations, especially with social media and mom blogs and movies, and there's a lot of negativity out there, so it's really easy to get sucked into that and think that every little issue or problem or movement is something bad. And I kind of started going down that, and then I was like, okay, I can't, like it's too much. So I would just say, find your group that you kind of trust, really rely on your doctors or your midwife or whatever you kind of decide to go with, and just really try and enjoy it, which I know I'm saying a lot of things and I'm seen as like, oh God, all of that sounds awful. But I'm really trying to enjoy it because you never get that moment back. So that would be my advice. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know the gender?
I do not. So a lot of people can't believe that we're not finding out because everyone does like gender reveal parties and stuff now. We are not finding out. We don't really care. It's our first one. And my husband and I both just think there's not a lot of surprises in life. So this is kind of one that is a huge surprise. So we will not know until the baby's born. Yeah.
Did you guys talk about names?
Yeah.
Are they from like books you guys have read? I don't know. I feel like that's
Because we're both English teachers.
Yeah.
So I will be honest, the hardest part about two teachers having a baby is we've had a lot of students and a lot of names. A lot of great students. A lot of ones that we don't necessarily want to name our children after. So it's been really difficult. My husband likes very, very traditional names. I like a little bit more unique and different names. His name is Kyle, pretty traditional. Mine is Keely, so different. So we both are kind of like split on that. And I don't know if you guys probably don't know this, but you all know what Tinder is, right? Okay, so there's an app on your phone that you can get, and it's like Tinder, but it's for baby names. So you each get it, and a baby name pops up. So say Jessica pops up. If you like it, you swipe right. If you don't, you swipe left. And we each do this like individually on our phones. Then there's a little part that says matches. Then you click on it and it gives you all the names of all the ones that I have swiped right and my husband has swiped right. So we don't even need to talk about it. Like we can just do this on our own. So we have gone through over 600 names. Guess how many matches we have? 0. 0. So, we don't have any names, if I'm being completely honest, and it's really starting to freak me out. Because we need a girl and a boy name. Because we don't know the gender. So we tried talking about it 2 nights ago, and then we said, we're not getting anywhere. We'll maybe try next week. So I have like my favorites, and he has his favorites, but we both really don't like each other's favorites. So I don't know what the baby's name is going to be, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
What are your favorites? Like,
favorite names?
yeah.
Girl or boy?
Both.
For boy, my 2 favorite are Maddox and Camden. Those are my 2. And then for girls, I like Paisley and I like Kensington. He hates all of them. So probably won't be any of those. Yeah.
So like pain levels, like what would you say pain wise pregnancy is like pretty freaking painful or like it's okay? Like from the very beginning to like now.
Can I
Just in general.
talk about like anything?
Yeah. We haven't learned about labor and delivery, so.
And I don't know anything about that.
Right.
Okay.
You're comfortable with it.
I will say, honestly, like pain is how I found out I was pregnant. A lot of times women's breasts get extremely tender and they hurt, and that is how I found out that I was pregnant. So that has been something that has, yep, your face says it all. So that is something that hasn't gone away. Like that's just been painful throughout. I have not had, they have like practice contractions that they call them, like Braxton Hicks contractions, that come starting around week like 30. I haven't had any of those, so I don't know what those feel like. I don't know what labor and delivery feels like. I've seen like the horror movies and stuff where it sounds horrible. I'm sure it's painful. I don't know. But as far as like actual pain, I haven't really had pain. It's more just like discomfort. Yeah.
I know some people say they have like a feeling of like whether it's a boy or a girl. Do you have like?
I had a dream. So before I knew I was, I kind of thought I was pregnant, but I didn't know for sure yet. I didn't take a test because I was just avoiding it. I don't know why. And I had a dream that I had the baby, and and all the dream was, it was very vivid, but it was just the doctor held up the baby and said, "Congratulations, it's a little boy." So like that's why I think it's a boy. But I have no idea. Everyone that looks at me says boy. But I've done like all the little like wives' tales. There's like a necklace that you hang. I've done like the Chinese calendar. I've done all of these things. All of them say boy. So if it's a girl, that would be crazy. But I think it's a boy. Did you say I just seem like I'm having a boy? Everyone says that. I don't know why. Yeah.
What are your
Honestly, I don't know because I don't really care because I'm not going to name my kid that. I know one, he loves the name Cameron for a girl, and I don't mind that, but since my favorite name for a boy is Camden, like, I don't like that together necessarily. He also has a cousin Cameron, so I'm like, we can't, if we're going to do a family name, it can't be like that cousin. That's not my favorite cousin of yours. So like, I don't know. For a boy, he had a very nice thought. He wanted to do Timothy Scott, which is very nice. His dad is Tim and my dad is Scott. But like, blah, boring. I'm not, nah. No offense to any like Tims or Scotts or Camerons or whatever. Yes.
What has been like, has anyone, like, have you had like a crazy experience where someone's like telling you something like really like specific that you shouldn't do and you were just kind of like, what the heck? Or is it like...
So there's a lot of weird things that people tell you can't do. You're not supposed to eat lunch meat for listeria. That's not a very weird one. Like, that's one that I follow. Obviously, like, no smoking, no drinking. Like, there's those. And then there's ones where people get, like, a little crazy. Like, I've been told, you know, you can't have salad because salad might not be washed, and it, you know, it's all like bacteria, but like my doctor says that's completely bogus. Another one is like, I was pushing a cart at Walmart and I had like a ton of groceries, and this old woman came up to me and she's like, "You should not be pushing that cart when you're pregnant." Like, okay. So, you know, just like weird things like that. There have been a few teachers at this school when I'm walking in the hallway and I'm carrying my computer like kind of here, that have made comments like, "You really shouldn't be holding your computer that close to your stomach," which maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should. Like, just weird. People have a lot of opinions, so you need to just like focus on what you believe and then kind of like let that all go. But yeah.
Have random people like ever come up to you and ask to like really
Yep. First day of school, I've had a lot of students, and I was like, let's not have you touch my stomach. That's a little weird. At the nail salon, I was just at the nail salon, and the lady doing my pedicure asked when I was due, and I told her, and she said, "Do you mind if I like touch you?" And I was like, okay, sure. I don't know why I even said sure, but I did. And she started like touching my stomach, and then she started touching my sides, and she's like, "Oh, your sides are really fat, so you're having a boy." So I was like, oh, like, thank you. Like, brutally honest. So I don't know why there's this like magnetic force of people wanting to touch your belly, but it happens. Like, random people will ask all the time. But yeah.
What was your reaction when you felt the baby?
The first time, that was so cool. It's hard for a while because everyone says, like, you know, week 20 you'll feel it. So if you don't, you're like, oh my gosh, something's wrong. I didn't feel movement till week like 26, maybe 25, 26, which was like on the later end. And I remember my husband and I were on a train actually, and I felt like I thought I was just really hungry. Like, I thought it was like a growl or like something that moved. And it just felt kind of like a hunger pain. And I was like, no, that can't be it. And then it like kept feeling the same way. And it's really weird if you honestly think about it. Having something like living inside of you is a little scary and weird and freaky and like an out of body experience. but the movement is so cool. That's when I started really almost forming like this bond and this like relationship, which seems kind of crazy. But now, and at first, like, you can't feel it on the outside. So I would tell my husband, like, oh my God, like, feel. And he's like, I can't feel anything. Like, I'm just feeling it on the inside. But now it's weird. Like, the baby last night kicked. And so I, like, kind of pushed twice on my stomach. And then the baby would kick, like, twice. Like answering. Like, it's weird how interactive and how real the baby is without being born yet. But yeah, that's been like the coolest part of pregnancy. Yeah.
How did your like in-laws and like your parents react when you guys told them?
So my in-laws have, I think, like 12 grandkids already, so they were kind of like, oh, another one. Like, I mean, they were excited, but you know, like it wasn't a first for them. Whereas for my parents, it's their first grandkid, so they were going crazy. My husband and I got married last July, so we've been married like a year and a half, not even, and they all wanted us to have a baby like right away. So they were kind of like waiting for it to happen, but they were really excited. Yeah.
So like whether it be either like talking to the baby or like your music that you play, is there like what you doing with that?
Like, what am I doing with that?
Yeah, like do you talk to it, do you play certain music types?
So I'll be honest, I get it's very weird to like sit and talk to this like baby. Like it's weird. It's hard for me to sit there and be like, oh my God, and like have a conversation with the baby. Like I feel weird. So my husband plays guitar. So he's been like playing and singing a lot, and I'll like go in the room and he's been like singing like children's songs and stuff. So I kind of like let him do a lot of that, which again is super weird. It's like my husband and I sitting in a room and he's playing like a nursery rhyme like on the guitar. Like that's weird. But they say we should try it, so we're trying. We're trying everything. We're reading books to it at night. Like all this stuff just started, and again I'm saying it like this because it feels so weird to be doing that. And they say that the baby, you know, can understand and can hear and can... Is that true? I don't know. They say, like, if you read to the baby, like, the baby will come out smarter. Like, again, who knows? But we're just, like, trying different things. But it's weird. Like, that whole thing is very weird for us. It's not very natural. Like, I want to be holding the baby, and then I'll talk and sing and do those things. But
I want to be mindful of time. So we have 5 minutes left. How many more questions do we have? 1?
1, 2, 3.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
5 more.
Has anybody like gotten you any gifts? Have you bought them anything for it?
Yeah, so it's hard because we don't have the gender. So we've gotten, my baby shower is actually this Sunday. So hopefully we'll be getting a lot of our stuff then.